Welcome to today's webinar discussing fasted workouts and if they are hype or helpful depending on your goals. If you have not met me yet, my name is Szczesniakowski. My master's is in exercise science, and I have been a certified personal trainer for about 4 years now. So that is where I'm coming from. Just to have a preface here, I am not a registered dietitian. So if you are seeking out any personalized nutrition recommendations, I always suggest that you outreach a registered dietitian. We do have one on site here at Pinellas County. She is our on-site health coach with UMR. Her name is Shannon. So please feel free to reach out for her if you are needing some more personalized recommendations around your exercise or just in general. Second here, this presentation is not about intermittent fasting or really any other fasting except associated with fasted around your workouts. So, what is a fasted workout? A fasted workout is exercise that is performed at least 6 hours after eating. So you ate, spend about 6 hours at minimum, and then you exercise. Some literature suggests a longer time period. I'm going 6 hours because most commonly we see fasted workouts in the mornings without having breakfast. And if you get 8 to 10 hours of sleep, good on you, but we're gonna go with 6 for the purpose of today's presentation. And let's think about why we would work out fasting. There can be a plethora of reasons that may not even have made this list, but most commonly, you may not have an appetite before you exercise. There may be some nausea, so maybe you did eat, you felt a little nauseous, so that going forward, you're like, you know what, I'm not even gonna eat anymore because I don't want my stomach to hurt while I'm exercising. Totally valid. There may not be any time. If you wake up, you have work in 2 hours, you're like, okay, I really want to get a workout in. I don't have time to throw something together. I'm gonna hop in the car, go to the gym, go straight to work. Also, in that same vein, eating may not be a priority either. You're like, okay, I have my bag, my coffee, maybe some water, I'm out the door. We're not thinking about eating all the time, and that's also fair. I do want to focus on the last point here. For the next 2 slides, we are going to be talking about the assumption that it will lead to greater weight loss. So let's take a quick look at the research. The first two here are systematic reviews, so reviewing a bunch of research and kind of compiling it all together. The first one states resistance training done in fasted and fed states have similar effects on body composition. And when we talk about body composition, we are talking about how your body is composed, the makeup of your body. So not just what is on the scale. So talking about the fat mass and the muscle mass and what that ratio looks like. Second point states performing exercise in a fasted state did not influence weight loss or changes in lean and fat mass. And then these next two were specific studies. First one, you have a fasted and a non-fasted group. They did 1 hour of steady state cardio for 3 days a week. Steady state cardio, you are just in a steady heart rate state. So think kind of casual walking. Ultimately, both groups did show weight and fat mass loss, but there was no difference between the two groups. Second here, this study was done in women, which we don't see a ton of in the exercise science world, unfortunately. But this research showed that short-term, low-volume HIIT, so high-intensity exercise, improved body composition in overweight and obese women, but there was no difference found in the fed versus the fasted state. So taking all of this, exercise, assuming that you have a caloric deficit happening ultimately, exercise can show changes in body composition, decreased fat mass, increased lean mass, changes in the body from exercise. But it doesn't matter if you ate or didn't eat, ate or didn't eat beforehand. The effects, the outcome, the results on your body are the same or similar. So, does exercising fasted lead to more weight loss than non-fasted? No, but why? You are always burning a combination of fat and carbs as fuel. We're going to think of it as a ratio. And that ratio will shift depending on the intensity and duration of the exercise. We think about carbs, and they are quick access fuel utilized during high intensity workouts like strength training, high intensity interval training, sprinting, and other activities where your body has an immediate energy demand, where your body is like, I need fuel right here, right now. Carbs. We are pulling in carbs. Carbs are being used to provide that energy. The ratio shifts towards burning fat during lower intensity activities when your energy demands are steady and of longer duration, such as light walking or some gentle yoga. When our body begins to tap into that fat storage, we need a longer duration. It's much quicker for our body to break down carbs as fuel. Using fat is a much longer process. Your body will use stored fat as its main energy source during fasted workouts, but does this short-term burn of one fuel source lead to ultimate greater weight loss? No, it does not. So when we burn fat for a workout, that does not translate to long-term weight or fat loss. Weight loss is going to depend on the overall calorie balance and lifestyle factors. So while you are burning fat during a fasted workout, it doesn't directly mean that you will lose weight unless you are eating less calories than you're using up throughout the day. Now we talk about the impact on men versus women. There wasn't a ton of research to pull on women. This information comes from a systematic review that included about 200 men and 12 women. So our balance is a little off here, but for both men and women, eating before I work out allows for a greater volume to be performed. We're able to do a little bit more when we have some energy to pull from. Lower perceived effort, our exercise maybe doesn't feel as difficult, and the greater ability to recover from an intense session compared to a fasted state, which makes sense. Again, if we eat beforehand, our body's like, okay, this exercise is about to be hard. Oh, I have an energy source. Let me pull that. Then we perceive the effort of this exercise to be a little lower, and we're able to do a little bit more. And then afterwards, we don't feel as tired as to when we don't eat beforehand. Kind of shifting our attention directly to women, fasted cardio tends to present itself as underfueling, which can make recovery harder and result in the loss of lean mass. So this is an interesting thing to talk about because I think this comes from the assumption that we just talked about. You can see it all over social media that maybe you're on Facebook or Instagram and you see something and it's like, okay, she says that if I don't eat before I work out, I'm going to burn more fat. Okay, I'm going to do that. And then you don't replace those carbs or any of that food that you would have eaten beforehand. It's not replaced in the rest of our nutrition. So it leads to an overall under eating. And again, that can make recovery super difficult because our body doesn't have the nutrients it needs to replenish itself after exercise. And we're not building muscle from that either. Lastly here, regarding menstrual cycles, fasted training is not recommended outside of the follicular phase, which is day 1 to ovulation, due to decreased estrogen. Each phase of the menstrual cycle brings different hormonal changes, one of which is estrogen levels. Estrogen is highest during the follicular phase and right before ovulation. This time frame accounts for a little less than half of a regular menstrual cycle. So that other half is kind of what we tend to associate menstrual cycles with, and lower estrogen levels, mood swings, increased fatigue, irritability, general discomfort. This is when it's not recommended to train fasted, which makes sense. If you're already tired, if you're already irritated, you probably should have a little snack before you go exercise. And then once you reach perimenopause and then menopause, estrogen levels will continue to decrease. During these times of fluctuating and decreased estrogen, nutrition is especially important to maintain your energy and performance. So, while fasting may be preferable to some, ultimately you are the expert on your body and you should listen to it regardless of gender. If you do not feel great working out in a fasted state, don't train that way because there is no evidence that points to you are going to have a better workout if you don't eat beforehand. Now, there can be a time and a place for fasted exercise, and we may not even think about it, right? Maybe it's the middle of the day, we haven't really had lunch and it's been a while since breakfast, but we're gonna go take a little walk, get some movement in. That's totally fine. You don't have to carb load before your casual walk in the middle of the day. Let's keep the intensity low. Talk test. Can you carry on a conversation with me during this exercise? That's a good measure of your intensity. So let's keep it low. Let's imagine we're having a conversation. Short duration, less than 30 minutes. Casual, low casual, occasionally. We're not really trying to make fasted exercise a habit. So again, if you are running out the door, you don't have time to grab breakfast, but that's not usually how it goes. Maybe you just hit snooze one too many times. Okay, it's fine. Don't overthink it. Get back into the habit of having some breakfast beforehand. And then lastly, speaking about the menstrual cycle, when you are feeling the best in terms of your menstrual cycle, fine, go for it, go for it. But if you are feeling fatigued, irritated, a little moody, maybe it's best to hold off a little bit, have a little snack, and then go exercise. Now, maybe having an exercise, maybe working out, having a workout fasted is your only option. It is the only thing that fits into your lifestyle, into your time schedule. Fine. Here are some precautions and considerations for exercising in a fasted state. Hypoglycemia. Low blood sugar levels can cause some dizziness, weakness, and potentially even fainting. So if you're feeling a little wobbly, things are starting to get a little blurry, you are not feeling great, maybe don't do that again, but also have a fast-acting carb source on hand. Say you don't eat breakfast beforehand, okay, toss like an apple in your bag or toss some gummy bears in your bag, just so that you have kind of a backup plan in case you really start to feel super icky and you can't get through your workout. Second point here, muscle breakdown. We used to think that having some protein after exercise, that it was immediate. You had to get your protein in right away because that was the highest time when for muscle protein synthesis. It's not that serious as we once thought it was. As long as you eat within a few hours after exercising, you're going to be okay. You can still support muscle growth. But if you don't have all this nutrition before your exercise, proper post-nutrition exercise is going to be a little bit more crucial, which makes sense. You don't have all of this beforehand nutrition supporting your post-workout growth, so you need to supplement with food quicker after your exercise. So the recommendation, 30 minutes to an hour after exercising, which again is a shorter window than if you had eaten beforehand. And ultimately, it is not suggested for high intensity exercises that you cannot sustain. That is the whole point of using carbs as a fuel source. They are quick energy for your body to directly pull from and to be able to use to fuel what you are doing in that minute. It takes a while for our body to start using fat as a fuel source. So, not recommended ultimately for high intensity exercise. Here are some recommendations for some pre-workout nutrition to help fuel your workout. So again, maybe you're in that boat of, I'm waking up in the morning, I don't know what to eat, or I don't want to eat. Here are some suggestions. So simple carbs. Simple carbs are fast digesting carbs, and they break down quickly to provide with a rapid source of energy. So we think about apples, we think about some fruit, gummies, something that is mainly sugar is ultimately what it is. But then you can even incorporate things like maybe some Greek yogurt with some berries and granola kind of shown on here, which it touches on that protein part we'll get to in a second. But ultimately, we want something quick and easy for our body to digest. So we are looking at simple carbohydrates rather than complex carbohydrates. Complex carbs like your whole grains, your cruciferous vegetables. We're looking for something that is low in fiber, low in fat, and easy for your body to digest. The last part on here, having a little bit of protein in your pre-workout snack has been shown to support better performance and recovery in some studies. So if your body can tolerate it, go ahead, throw it in there. From what I have seen, there are really no negative impacts to having a little bit of protein with your carbohydrate source prior to exercise. And at the end of the day, whatever feels good to you in terms of portion size, food selection, and timing is going to depend on your body. Maybe you can't have like a full Greek yogurt fruit bowl. Maybe that portion is too big for you personally. Okay, maybe you can only have half an apple. Okay, it's still better than nothing. And as we've seen, nothing really doesn't support your workouts, your recovery, anything, really in any way, shape, or form. So it's more recommended to have a little bit of a snack so that you can feel better during your workout. You can recover better afterwards, and maybe you do a little bit more. Maybe you can get through that last set, last rep, whatever it may be. Maybe you can push through it a little bit more because you have some energy beforehand. So, ultimately, hype or helpful. Fasted exercise will either hurt or have absolutely no impact on your training progress. And I don't know about you, but I want to avoid anything that could hurt my training progress and my performance during my exercises. So this is ultimately up to you. Like I said, if fasting before you work out is something you absolutely have to do because of your lifestyle, okay, but take into your considerations your post-exercise nutrition, shorter window. Again, just keep something like in your gym bag or maybe in your pocket if you're going on a run. Just keep something with you just in case, those blood sugar levels tank and you have some things to handle there. Secondly, the short-term burning of fat that you use during a fasted workout does not result in greater weight or fat loss compared to a fed workout. So if you are seeing that, oh my goodness, but this person on Facebook says if I don't eat before my workout, I'll lose all this fat and this weight. No, that is not how it works. You have to have an overall calorie deficit. Overall calorie deficit. And then lastly, impacts are similar for men and women. The workout is going to feel more difficult if you haven't eaten beforehand. You have no energy source to pull from. And then without proper overall nutrition, recovery and muscle growth can be blunted. And then specifically for those with menstrual cycle, it is not favorable outside of the follicular phase of that cycle because your estrogen is fluctuating and decreased. So thank you guys so much for tuning in for today's presentation. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. Thank you.